The term electrolysis was first popularized in the 19th century by Michael Faraday. It was a process that helped in the study of chemical reactions in obtaining pure elements. The process of dissolving ionic compounds into their constituent components by delivering a direct electric current through the complex in a fluid form is known as electrolysis. At the cathode, cations are reduced, whereas anions are oxidized. An electrolyte, electrodes, and some type of external power source are necessary for conducting electrolysis. A partition, such as an ion exchange membrane or a salt bridge, may also be utilized, but it is not required. These are mostly used to prevent goods from diffusing too close to the opposing electrode. By flowing electric current through acidified or salt-containing water, the original elements hydrogen and oxygen can be decomposed. Electrolysis is usually performed in an electrolytic cell, which consists of a vessel with two electrodes, which is cathode and anode, in either molten form or dissolved in a suitable solvent. Electrolysis may be affected due to some factors, which includes the nature of the electrode, the nature and state of the electrolyte, the nature and electric potential of ions present in the electrolyte, and overvoltage at the electrodes.
So now, it's my turn to show the 6 results of this experiment. Firstly, there are 2 carbon electrodes which are immersed in the distilled water as electrolyte solution. After 5 minutes of electrolysis, we can see that a small amount of bubbles form at the anode and the cathode electrodes. Besides, pink solution appear at cathode surface.
Only water molecules migrate to both anode and cathode. Water is oxidized at anode to form oxygen gas, while water is reduced at cathode to produce hydrogen gas.
Next, a small amount of bubbles involved at the anode and cathode electrodes in 0.001 molar of sodium chloride.
Sodium ion and water migrate to cathode, and chloride ion and water migrate to anode. At cathode, water is discharged and reduced to hydrogen gas instead of sodium ion, because water has higher standard electric potential value compared to sodium ion. At anode, water is also discharged and oxidized to oxygen gas instead of chloride ion, because water has lower standard electric potential compared to chloride ion.
In addition, we use 0.5 of sodium chloride as electrolyte solution. In this case, we observe that a cloudy solution formed at the anode electrode. Then, blue litmus paper turned to white in color.
Due to high concentration of chloride ion in the solution, chloride ion is oxidized at anode to form chlorine gas that is visible as cloudy solution. Cathodic reaction is the same as diluted sodium chloride, where water is reduced to hydrogen gas.
The formation of yellow-orange solution at the anode electrode when 2 carbon electrodes are immersed in 0.5 molar of sodium bromide.
Things have changed when using 0.5 molar sodium bromide solution. At anode, bromine gas is the result of oxidation of bromide ions. This is because it has lower standard electric potential value compared to water.
In 0.5 molar of sodium sulfate, we use copper electrodes, so that no evolution of bubbles was observed at anode. After 3 minutes of electrolysis, the anode electrode turned to slightly black in color. The slight blue suspension was formed, and also the formation of black solid in the bulk solution.
Using copper electrodes add up to migrating species to both cathode and anode, as copper is an active metal. Since the reactivity of copper is high, copper electrode oxidizes itself to form copper-2 ions. The blue suspension observed in the middle of the U-tube is the indication of the presence of copper-2 ions in the bulk solution. Oxidation of copper also results in the formation of copper-2 oxide that is seen as black layer on the copper electrode.
Lastly, the carbon electrodes were immersed in 0.5 of sodium sulfate to show that a small amount of bubbles form at both electrodes.
Sodium ions and water migrate to cathode. The same thing happens as in 0.001 molar sodium chloride at cathode. Water is discharged and reduced to hydrogen gas instead of sodium ion. At anode, water is also discharged and oxidized to oxygen gas instead of sulfate ions.
Phenolphthalein is used to indicate the presence of hydrogen ion. Before that, let me show that the overall reaction of electrolysis of water. From that, 2 moles of hydrogen gas are produced compared to oxygen. This is why more bubbles produced at cathode. Atmospheric pressure gives the important effect in the analysis of electrolysis. The lower of atmospheric pressure, the higher of the production of hydrogen gas at cathode. In conclusion, the objective of this experiment were achieved. The reaction occurring at the anode and cathode during the electrolysis of various aqueous salt solutions were identified. Besides, the electrolysis of water and the gases liberated at the electrodes was observed. Lastly, the carbon as electrode and sodium sulfate as electrolyte solution are suitable for water splitting process.